Most people open up Ozone, hit Auto Master and cross their fingers. And that's why their tracks never sound punchy, balanced or anywhere near professional. Here's the truth, Ozone can get you pro-level results, but only if you know what the tools are doing. But once you do, everything changes. Hi, I'm Streaky. I've been a mastering engineer for over 30 years, working on some big artists you'll see scrolling around somewhere below me. And today, I'm going to master a track from start to finish using the new version of Ozone, which is Ozone 12. You'll get an understanding of how to maximize Ozone, see what I did there? And how you can use it in your tracks in the same way. If after watching this you want to learn how to go deep and get the most out of each module and see me master tracks from different genres from start to finish, I've left a special discount link in the description below so that you can watch my Ozone start to finish course. Okay, let's get mastering. So the track we're going to master today in Ozone 12 is a trancey track, but don't let that put you off because what I'm going to show you is the way that we work with Ozone 12. You can do this on any track, so you just apply the same method that I'm going to show you to your track and you'll be able to then tweak around in a similar way to I'm going to show you how to do now. So what I'm going to do is try and use a lot of the new Ozone features when I do this so that I can sort of show those off to you, and then we'll go into other ones, but let's see how we get on. Who knows? Let's see what it needs. I've not really listened to the track. I know it's a trance track. I had a brief listen, but I haven't sort of delved in deep to it. So I'm going to show you how to set up Ozone first of all. So the way I do it every time if I'm using Ozone, first of all start off with a maximizer. This is the limiter that's in Ozone. They've got an ISC 5 which we'll use. I'll set the output to 0.1. I leave True Peak off. I'm not a fan of True Peak. Everything else is the same. And basically, I know I haven't even listened to the track yet, but what we want to do is, before we start with the track, I want to get the track up to the level that I want it to be when it's finished. And I'll tell you why I want to do that in a minute. But the way that I do that is, I want to get it to around -8 LUFS, because that's kind of the standard amount that you need on most music. And so you get to the loudest point of the track, which I think is around here. And if we play that and then hit the learn button, and then that'll get us up to the right level.
You will go nowhere. Now you're going back there, facing the unknown.
Okay, so now we're hitting around -8 LUFS, so we know the level's good. So what we're going to do now, we're going to listen to the track, and then we're going to decide what we want to do to it. So when I listen to the track, what I'm listening for is, I always listen to the low end to the top. So what's happening in the low end? Is it powerful enough? Does it have too little, too much going on in the low end? Is there separation in there? Is it woolly? Is it like too, you know, is it overpowering? Is it got, what problems are in the low end? Because what I find is that if I focus on the low end first, the top end kind of sorts itself out a bit. And you'll find with cheap mastering and most AI mastering and all that kind of stuff, they'll do it the opposite way around. They'll just put loads of top on and it sounds really bright, and through small speakers, yeah, that's really exciting. But when you play it somewhere else, in a club or anywhere, if you get the low end right, you don't play with the top, it suddenly sounds a lot cleaner and a lot posher, and you get this really nice, professional, mastered sound, rather than just bang a load of top on. It's really edgy and really thin, and there's no kind of depth in it, and there's no kind of foundation in the low end to hold it together. So that's really why I'm listening to the low end first, because I want to get that right. Top falls into place. We can do some little tweaks to the top to then sparkle it or open it up a bit, whatever we need to do. But yeah, get the low end right and you should be golden. So let's have a listen to the track, listen to the low end, and then work our way up with our ears to see where we're going. Okay, so my ears for that straight away, I don't think there's enough definition in the low end. Yeah, it needs to be, you have to think of the genre, and this genre is sort of needs to be quite bright and open at the top. It's very orchestral, it's very uplifting kind of track, so we don't want to lose that. But also at the same time, I think I need a little bit more thump and a little tightness in the low end. So we need to add some and then sort of maybe hold that together somehow. And I think once we've got that cleaned up a little bit, we could move the track around a bit. I think it sounds quite open at the top, but we need to get that low end a little bit tighter. And the top was really bright. And so if I started adding loads more to that at this present moment in time, I think it will make it thinner. I'm not saying we won't as we go, but I think getting that low end right might help us out with the top end. So let's first of all grab their new bass control that they've got on here and then put that before the maximizer, because everything comes before the maximizer. That's the final thing in the chain. That's doing the level at the end. So we want to have that at the back of the chain. So any adjustments we do before, the maximizer is going to hold on to it. And then we just keep turning the maximizer down all the way through, because we'll be gain staging up. That'll all become apparent as I'm going. But the main thing you need to do before we do any kind of processing is you need to hit this button that's called gain match. And the reason for that being that it will match the output to the input, so that we're not hearing loads of gain, because obviously we've put 6 dB of gain on the maximizer. And as we start pushing some bass and things like that, it's going to get a lot louder. So if we were just bypassing in and out with the level really loud, we're going to think it sounds great anyway, because the maximizer's louder and loudness makes your ears think that it's better. And we want to hear the tweaks we're doing. So the way to do that is get the gain matched and then bypass in and out, and you'll see it happening now. So on this bass control, this is to kind of grab the low end, maybe add a bit more low end. You've got a sustain bit here, so you can change the sustain notes of the low end, and you can make it a little bit more punchy, which is obviously what we're looking for. And then it's got this peak control. So you'll see, obviously, if the bass is kind of quite jagged in the low end, if it's not very controlled, it'll be sort of moving like this. So what you can do is you can put some more level into it and then just hold it together so it's a little bit tighter. So let's have a listen, let's have a look at what's going on, and then we can start adding some stuff and see what it sounds like. Okay, so let me explain what I'm doing there. So first of all, we've got the bass control. I'm pumping a bit more low end into the whole thing at the front. So I'm getting an extra 1.6 dB in there. I'm making it a bit punchier, and then I'm controlling it a little bit so that before we go into the EQs, it's nice and even. So we haven't got any too much bounce going on. It's kind of, if it's going to be pushing something up, it's pushing it up in an even way. And so what I did, I thought then, oh, okay, it sounds like it's got a lot of like really muddy kind of low end in. So I've just put a low shelf on that at like 20 hertz, really low sort of thing. So it's not taking everything off, but it's just smoothing that down a little bit just to like just hold it together a bit more. So on this dynamic EQ, I've got this in expansion mode here because that's up, that's down, that's up. So basically it's going to come in, I'm getting 60 hertz, pumping that. Then at 170, 80, something like that, I've just got this bringing down. It only drags it down by about a dB, if that. And that's just taking it every time it kicks in and it's a bit muddy, it cleans it up. But to counteract that so it doesn't sound thin, I'm then adding a little bit above it on expanding it up around 300. And what that's doing is that's actually adding a nice bit of like weight to the low mids. And the low mids are really important because that's stuff you feel in your chest. So as the vocal comes in, it adds a little bit of flavour to that as well, just sort of brings the warmth out a bit. So let's have a listen to that. And what we do is, because I've added stuff here and because of bass and all that, I need to go back to the maximizer, press learn again when we get to the high point, because then that will bring down this gain for me so that I'm not over limiting, all the time. Okay, so I like the way the low end's now a little bit tighter. So what we're going to do is I'm going to use their clarity module, and this is like an auto EQ, just to see what this does to it. I'm going to just add some amount to it, get a quick release time on it, and just get it moving the sort of mids and stuff and the tops a little bit more to see what it brings out of there. Okay, so it's lifting that up a bit. As I was listening to that then, I thought, okay, the bass sounds like, I can hear the bass, maybe overpowering a little bit. So I just brought that level down by a dB just to kind of bring it back into play. Because it's nice and tight now, so I don't want to overpower it. And then, because it meant that I was putting more top on, I didn't want to put too much top on, as I explained earlier. So this around 28 seems to be working nice. Sounds all right. I think we need to look at the stereo image now. I think that'll make a big difference. So let's get their imager up. And let's put that right at the front because I like it there. I'm going to make a couple of bands. So this one here, this is just going to be doing the sort of super low stuff before we hit all this. And then I'm going to do one that's really high up. So what I like to do is I like to have that a little bit like that, and we'll change this in a minute, and put that on so it's going. Recover the sides a bit. What this does is, the way that this works is it's in mid and side, so it's going to strip from the sides to make it mono. But what this recover sides does, it does exactly what it says. It recovers the sides and sums them into the middle, so you don't thin out the low end and stuff. So that's going to be mono in the super lows, and then in the super highs, we're going to go out a little bit. And I mean, I won't touch these at the moment, but I might do in a sec when we're playing around. But what I want to go for this kind of tulip shape so that it's like nice and open at the top, nice and tight in the low end, because that's what this kind of track wants. If it's going to a club or anything, you want the low end to be, you know, nice and tight in the center so it plays across the systems fine. Okay, so let's play with this and see how it sounds. Okay, so that imaging's sounding really good. I was just playing around with the clarity a bit more there. But the imaging, I did what I said. Look, you can see it kind of goes up in a line. That wasn't meant to do that, but it's happened that way. And it's kind of just going like this all the way up to open the tops up. And the bass is now sounding really tight and in the middle. I think you can hear the clarity working much better on the bass. So going to the clarity plugin, I've just taken I've brought this down a little bit because the super high is a bit over the top really. So I've taken those down a touch. So basically what this is doing, it's kind of looks like it's scooping a bit of the lows and adding a bit to the top, which is fine. It's doing its job. But that vocal comes in, and as I'm hearing that vocal, I think it needs to sort of be a little bit brighter. Now, the great thing about their new system is they've got this thing called Stem EQ, where it splits all of the track into 4 different types of stems. So cleverly, it'll do the vocals, the bass, and the drums. Let me show you that in action. But let me just put that before the clarity so that the clarity will work on that afterwards and sort of bring it together. So let's play the track and I'll show you how this works.
Nowhere. Now you're going back there.
So you can hear it isolates the vocal. I mean, it's not perfect. You wouldn't like take it to strip a vocal out. But what this does, it means that we can now use this, because it's an EQ, to EQ the vocal within the track. And the great thing about that is that there's loads of times in mastering where I'll get a track where the backing track's really dull and the vocal's really bright, or the other way round. And that's very difficult to deal with when you haven't got the stems. So this actually gets us around that a little bit. And in this case, I just want to lift the level up a bit and maybe warm them up a bit because they sound a little bit thin. So what we should do, so I'll just put a little bit around kind of 600, something like that. Let's just hear how that sounds. A dB, and then let's just play it in and out. I'll start EQing it as we're going, but.
You were down from nowhere. Now you're going back there, facing the unknown. Thought we were going somewhere. Maybe we'd find it and stay there. Now I'm out here alone. somewhere. Maybe we find it and stay there. Now I'm out here alone. You were the girl. You were the girl from nowhere. Now you're going back there, facing the unknown. Thought we were going somewhere. Maybe we find it and stay there. Now I'm out here alone. You were the girl from nowhere. Now you're going back there, facing the unknown. Thought we were going somewhere. Maybe we find it and stay there. Now I'm out here alone. You were the girl from nowhere. Now you're going back there, facing the unknown. Thought we were going somewhere. Maybe we find it and stay there. Now I'm out here alone.
Okay, so let me explain what I was doing there because I did quite a lot. So I was playing around with the stem EQ. I found a kind of sweet spot of, I mean, these things you always go over the top with first of all, so think about that and then rein it back in. The vocals I've ended up just pushing up by sort of 0.7 dBs, and then I've just put a little bit on at about 1K-ish because it just was bringing out the vocal nicely. 1 dB, so not massive, but that plus that has brought it out, made it sit on top, and it kind of makes the reverbs on the vocals sound quite nice, so it sounds a little bit posher. Then the clarity, I just brought that back down to 10 because then what I wanted to do was just add a final EQ on with a kind of air band across the top, which has given it a really nice sheen. If I turn that off and on, which I'll do now to show you, that really gives it a nice kind of finishing touch before it goes to the maximizer. We know our level's cool. We're not distorting, so everything sounds kind of nice. Before we listen to the before and after, I'm just going to put the maximizer on. I like this soft clip and a bit of transient emphasis is always quite nice. So let's hear how they sound.
You were the girl from nowhere. Now you're going back there, facing the unknown. Thought we were going somewhere. Maybe we find it and stay there. Now I'm out here alone. You were
Okay, so I'm happy with the overall sound. The thing I just want to add now is like the finishing polish that works really well in Ozone. You get the stabilizer, put that before the maximizer, at about 20%-ish. We'll have a listen in a sec. Select EDM, because that's what this kind of roughly is. And this just will add a kind of, from all the bits that we've done, it should just sort of like even it out. It's kind of like a real dynamic, quick EQ. So let's have a listen to how that's sounding on the end there as a kind of final finisher. So I think that's really added a nice bit of sort of finishing off. It's not doing masses, it's only doing sort of like little half dBs here and there, but it just cleans it up, and all the things that I've done just kind of puts it all together nicely. So let's have a listen to the before and after and see how this is sounding. So you can see how powerful Ozone can be, and we've literally just scratched the surface here. There's loads of other modules, there's loads of things you can do with those modules and different combinations and stuff. So if that's something that you want to dive more into, then I've left a link in the description for my Ozone start to finish course. I take you through every module in detail. I tell you what's good about them, what's bad, what I use and when I use it. And then I go through and I master tracks start to finish like this, a bit deeper than this that I've done today, and you'll see how for different genres you can do different things. Mainly what I've shown you today will work for you. Get stuck in, get playing with it, but there's a link in the description for my course if you want to take this further. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you got loads out of it. I'll see you on the next one. But don't forget to watch the next video coming up, because that will show you a lot of depth tricks within mastering that you can use and that everyone else uses. So check that out now.